great being here. Like Ritu mentioned, the theme of the day is new game, new rules. I'm from the old game, so I was wondering why I was being invited for this. I'm not very often seen here, so not many of you would know me. But I took this opportunity because I've been in this industry for almost about 35 years now and gone through all its good times, difficult times, turmoils, ups and downs, and I've enjoyed every part of it. I'm very passionate about the food business. That's the only business I know, and that's why I'm standing here in front of you all today. I have seen this industry change in multiple ways because being in the industry for so long. And what has evolved, and as I've grown through this whole business, is realizing that today the business is all about partnerships, all about relationships, and the way you take these relationships forward. Today, I look at our contemporaries, our people from the industry as our, not as our competitors, but as our partners who increase the business of F&B in our country. The advantage is that if we all contribute together and create a bigger industry for ourselves, there's a bigger pie for all of us to look at. Traditionally, I'm just touching on a few points which I look at overall from the industry point of view. We all looked at international brands, and a lot of us would travel, see new ideas, see new concepts. Some we had innovation, we thought about it ourselves. Some we copied ideas, imitated them, possibly did it better than what would be done internationally. But a time has now come for our industry, for our restaurant and F&B industry, that we should be the leaders. We should be the ones who are setting new standards. The world should look at us and look at taking these brands, these ideas, these concepts, these ways of operating procedures, SOPs, all internationally. I think the industry has changed dramatically, and today we have the best we have the best brains. Our community does very well, not only here, but even internationally. And I have seen how we have been able to innovate and come up with all these new ideas. Today, for me, innovation is key. Innovation is key for growth in this industry. Innovation is key for success. Innovation is key for the consumer, because consumer wants more and more. He's becoming more demanding. He's becoming more discerning. He knows what he wants, and there are so many opportunities available. While I am traditionally from the old school of thought, but I've tried to adapt myself, and I have my contemporaries who are younger, and they're the ones who really have done a lot for our industry, whether it's Amit, Riaz, and I constantly see them coming up with new concepts. But we also as a company, and we have tried to do this, and we've learned from our experience that change is inevitable. So while we have great brands like Ritu mentioned, which have survived the test of time, and we've created many new brands also, but ultimately in every brand, we have had to bring about change. We've had to tweak the food. We have to tweak the menu, tweak the way we present the food, and gone about things in a very systematical way. However successful our concepts were in the past, we had to constantly keep it relevant. There was no way we could be happy with our past laurels and work on that. We had to bring change in the form of menu tweaking, recipe altering, design creation, improved technology. But the single point is innovation is a must. There is no way today with the new game, the new rules, that without innovation we can survive in this industry today. And that's a part of it which is a reality. Traditionally, if you asked me the same question 20 years back, I would say that let's be consistent. We have a great brand, we have a great process flow, we have a great product, no variation, let's go with that, because the customer profile that time was completely different. I still remember 35 years back when our parents would take us out for food. It was a celebration. It was a great experience to just go to a restaurant. The purpose of going out was, it was a rare phenomena. There were fewer business outlets available, but it was a celebration. You know, if you did well in your school, your parents would say, I'll take you out for a dinner. That may happen now, but now you go out as a way of life. It's a matter, It's a normal way of routine for us to be eating out, experiencing new products. Also, we today are exposed to much more. We travel. With the internet, we understand so much more about global trends. So obviously, we are looking at much more of opportunity, much more of we want to experiment, and that's become a challenge to keep up with the times. But that's the key of today, the relevance which is there. For the success of your business today, your customer is key. And to keep your customer interested in you is the biggest challenge. How do you keep him interested in your brand? How do you ensure that there is sustainability on your business model and you are able to get the customer repeatedly back to your doorstep and experience that happiness which he should feel when he comes into your place. A customer is looking for change all the time, but at the same time, if he gets certain levels of happiness when he comes into your outlet, obviously he has the recognition. It could be in any way. It could be the food, it could be the atmosphere, it could be the recognition, which sometimes just makes him more comfortable that this is a home away from home in a family restaurant. It could be a drinking place where he's recognized by the staff and given that extra attention. But of course, attention has to be given to all. Nobody likes it that if somebody is given more attention than the other, but that's all part of a training process. So today, again coming to that, training, very, very important. We traditionally used to talk to our teams. We had a very strong HR department, but everything out that time was to hold your team, reduce attrition, and keep the show going. And we were very proud as an organization to know that, yes, we had people with us who worked for 30 years, 40 years, people who were part of the organization, who were loyal to the organization. Today, times have changed. We have to bring youth in. In fact, in my own company, where I still am as the chairman, I avoid getting into day-to-day at all. It's the youth, it's the youngsters, it's the new GMs, vice presidents, CEOs, who are all think young, who believe young, and are dealing with customers who are again young. So we have been able to have this transition. It's been a very interesting and fascinating experience for me to watch this transition over the last 35 years, survive the business, grow in the business, and make it a profitable, sustainable business. And we've been able to do that by the way we've been able to adapt to the market conditions. Is part of the new rules and new games which are there in our business. Today, food safety has become a very, very important criteria. What was felt 35 years back, 20 years back, 10 years back, today is completely different. Today, the consumer is very, very particular about ensuring when he walks into a place, hygiene is of the highest standard. It is noticeable. That ensures his confidence in the product. It ensures his repeat value. And he would then obviously use that as a barometer while everything else remaining constant. But this has become a very, very important part of our business industry. We are party to those mistakes when hygiene was not given that much importance. Back-end was not given that much importance, whether it was receiving of goods, whether it was standards of handling food products, or even the end result. And we've done it all. I mean, I have, from an organization, and as leading that organization for these so many years, have made a lot of mistakes. In fact, we've learned from those mistakes. I always tell everybody that I've done everything wrong you could do in the restaurant business around the time, and learned from that and tried not to repeat that. And that's been a reason why we've been able to impart that knowledge to our team, which is very young, and they're able to use that experience so that they can take the business forward in a much more positive and sustainable, profitable way. Today, as I speak, I always talk about sustainability, profitability, because whatever game you play, whatever rules you redefine, profitability and sustainability is the key. And one of the key factors, which I was very happy to know when they made it one of the themes of this conference, was the processed food industry. That alone is a backbone to how the business is going to happen in the near future. I can see that as that develops, as we grow our brands, as we expand and we all look at scalability, processed food industry will be our backbone to this growth, because customer wants consistency. We all know these are basic mantras of our business, and we can only ensure that how much ever we go into training, recipe books, but with the processed food industry supporting us on anyways, could be from a gravy perspective, could be on other ingredients, but the more we rely on them, the more growth potential, the more opportunity there will be for success in our industry. It also brings the cost down. In the long term, I've always found that when you buy food from the processed food industry, because the way they package their products or they do have their procurement and they have basic volumes, they are able to bring profitability on the table for the restaurateurs. The new FSSAI rules obviously are a step in that direction when the central government has enforced these rules. And I think that's part of what our industry is looking to follow. It is stringent. It is at this moment a little confusing. The rules are not really clearly defined. They have not involved the industry in this part of the business, which I think, yes, we have like Riaz out here who represents our industry, and we will take up these issues with the authorities concerned so that it becomes more restaurant friendly, more consumer friendly, and we implement things in a phased manner, because for us, there's a legacy. There is years of following processes even for our employees or our senior management, and we need to bring about change in their thinking of how to actually implement what the authorities would like us to do, which is right now on paper but not really implemented at the floor level. So that would be another area which I feel needs to be concentrated upon and will make the business sustainable. While I can come up with a lot of new ideas, new thoughts, but I always feel the backbone, the foundation is very, very important for our industry. We have to invest in that. That is one factor which internationally, when I've studied a lot of different successful operations, whether in Europe or the US or even the Far East, which is very advanced in some of the food development which they have done. They've always concentrated on the back end. The back end has ensured consistency, hygiene, sustainability, and cost control as a package. And they're able to give food and maintain prices because our costs are going up all the time. All these factors have to be taken into account when you're finally offering the end product to the consumer. And some of us who have been there in this industry for so long, and there are a lot of new entrants coming into the industry, we have to lead by example. We are industry leaders. We have to set the standards. Only then will the industry grow. When the industry grows, it benefits everyone, including ourselves who are part of this industry. And we have to set the standards so that our peers, our contemporaries, are forced to follow these norms, because then only will the industry change. Then only will we set new standards for all to see, and the consumer to see in the end, which will help ultimately for the business to grow. There is a high cost to do this initially, back-end support, etc. But if you look at the final end result, that itself will play an important part in helping and ensuring that the business remains profitable and it is sustainable, because all of us are in this business for the long haul. None of us are looking at short-term projects. In fact, most of us, when we take our projects and from a land point of view or a restaurant point of view, we look at long leases. From a time when people used to do 3- and 5-year deals, we all are now negotiating with landlords and creating brands which can sustain over a 9-year period, 12-year period, because change needs to be brought about, innovation needs to be brought about. So there are always tweaking of the models which keep happening. Coming to the landlord part, which I just mentioned, very important also, and I'm seeing this change from a time when we used to get our rentals at a very low cost, and the new business opportunities which we are getting. Today, industry has realized that we have to balance this mix between a landlord and a restaurant owner. Because if we end up paying too much money, the business is not sustainable over a period of time. We ultimately load it onto the consumer. And today's consumer, unlike earlier when we could get away with much higher prices, today's consumer is looking for value for money. When I say value for money, it doesn't mean to be cheap. It would mean that the perceived value for that product has to be as the customer sees it. And it has become important for us to be more efficient. It's become important for us to cost control. And one of the major costs in our business is the rental factor. And I think today, I've been very happy to see that At some time, we were competing with each other, people in the industry, and offering very high rentals and feeling that, yes, the business would sustain it. It has not happened. There have been a lot of us who have burnt our fingers on this, and we've now become more cautious, and the rentals which we are offering landlords now are more at an affordable level, which is, for every different model of food, you have a different percentage of rent, of sales which you can afford, and that has worked out very well. Today, also, unlike earlier how we used to operate our businesses, the supply chain has become a very, very important part of our business. When I started my business 35 to 40 years back at a very young age, and for me, the most important part of my business was my vendor, my supplier. While the focus is the consumer, the customer, who is everything for us because that's why we exist in the business. But I always spent the maximum time with my vendors and suppliers as I was a young boy getting into the business, without any experience on this industry, feeling that, yes, if I get the right raw material, I'm going to get the right end product. Yes, you need trained personnel, you need staff, you need recipes, you need everything else. But if the raw material itself is a challenge, then whatever you might try, the end product will never give you that result. These are basic mantras which I followed, and I tried to make the business work. I met some amount of success. That gave me more motivation. I moved ahead, involved my suppliers, and always used to call them my partners as much as every other aspect of the business, while like our people working for us are our backbone. But suppliers were never given, I felt, that due position in those days. Today, they become a very important part of our business, and I touched about the processed food industry, which will take our business forward by leaps and bounds, because that's going to be a great asset and advantage to our industry. Today, most of our organizations have a lean supply chain and a management team, whose role is a combination of dealing with key suppliers and ensuring the quality checks on products and supplier facilities. We're now going backward right into their facilities, and we as an organization have tweaked, and we've ensured that that is part of the process where we want national suppliers. We get, of course, there are startup companies, there are companies which have a national presence. So obviously, we would look at as an organization, because we get the advantage of scale, and we're able to get better prices from the market itself, compared to the market.